Jasmine was the most loved girl in all the world. The connection between us was an intense one. I could gauge so much about her and understand the very subtle signs she gave out. To others, she had a kind of locked-in syndrome. That all changed at National Star. Jasmine was born at 37 weeks. We knew something was wrong during pregnancy, but nothing was confirmed until days before her birth. She was profoundly disabled. She had many diagnoses: spastic quadriplegia, scoliosis, cortical blindness and epilepsy, to name a few. As a family, we tried to live as normal a life as possible, giving Jasmine as many life experiences as we could. Visiting National Star College was a huge step for her. It was initially just for respite, but after looking around and speaking to staff members, it became clear that the people who said she was just too disabled to benefit from college were wrong. She was 19. I was very aware that she may outlive me. We needed to find somewhere else for Jasmine to be cared for other than home. National Star staff came out to visit Jasmine at home to assess her needs. Stuart Saxton interacted with Jasmine on a level and in a way I had never seen before, and she responded to him. Here was someone who had walked into the house and started communicating with her through sighs and breathing. It was like a miracle. I cried. These were the ways I understood her, but I couldn't begin to put into words or to hand over her way of communicating to anyone else.
So I was asked to go and see Jasmine for an assessment, and it was to go and see her in her home where she'd feel more comfortable. She hadn't been in school for a while, and so we thought it would be a far more positive experience for her. It was interesting watching her with her relationship with her mum. You could see that they were really close, and Mum really understood, Jasmine's needs, what she was saying, what she wanted. But I thought, this is someone new to me. How do I join in? How do I, get in here with Jasmine? So, as an intensive interaction coordinator and having spoken to colleagues and tutors before, I thought I need to find a way in. How do I do that? What is she going to show me? And the one thing that I could really see, and although sometimes she struggled with it, but it was her breathing. And there were almost sighs, there were longer breaths, shorter breaths, and they seemed not to be anything to do with her health at that moment. She was at home, she seemed fine, she was, happy. So I knelt down close to her so she could sense I was there, quick touch on the arm to show her that, there was someone new, introduce myself. And to give her that validation, I treated each breath as intentional communication. Obviously it's very intentional that she, inhaled and exhaled, but because I'd seen difference in them, I thought I would join in with them. And as I did, there became a pattern. We had short pauses, longer pauses, a move of her head, showing that maybe there was some understanding there and some appreciation that I had joined in with her breathing. And it continued for some time. And there were moments when the exhalations almost were vocalizations, almost more vibration in her vocal cords as she exhaled. And for that to happen in that first meeting was incredible. And she was an incredible young woman.
Jasmine then went to National Star for an initial stay over. Staff just seemed to get her. It was a relief for us both, I think. This was completely new to her, and I was worried about her being worried. Then she started college. Her key workers were brilliant with her, and their care and attention and communication with me made it all work well. Kat was now Jasmine's tutor, and in session she worked on different techniques to open up her communication.
The first time I met Jazz, so she came into the classroom and I'd heard about Jasmine being, you know, quite a poorly young lady and she might not come to all my sessions. And then she arrived and she was covered in blankets because it was sort of September time, and there was just sort of Jazz under these blankets, and I went over and I said, Jazz, my name's Kat and I'm going to be your tutor at National Star. And there was a and I thought, right. And that's how our conversations began, really. I think as Jazz realised that growth in her, that autonomy in her, that it was an extension and people were responding to that, that's when she became playful with it, and she would pause and she would wait because she knew that I'd be waiting for her. But then she would also give me a very big if I was taking too long to come round to her within like the circle, that you know, sort of in the morning, as we sort of said good morning to each other. So I think it kind of went hand in hand with Jazz's understanding of how she could communicate to, you know, the staff around her responding to that. So her understanding grew that she had a voice and she wanted to use it, and she could adapt it and change it, and also I think as that grew with staff, it was then with her peers. She was then realising that she could communicate and have conversations with her peers. You know, we've got a young gentleman in her class, you know, he would adapt his vocalisations and his breaths to communicate, you know, so they were very much like Jazz. So he would give a and then over time she was then realising that was him then talking to her, and there'd be a in response. So I think it started off as a way of maybe saying yes or no, and then it grew into I am here and I'm going to let you know I'm here, and this is how I'm going to make my choices.
When there was an outbreak of COVID in her residence, she came home for 5 weeks. Now she responded to online learning. When lockdown eased, Jasmine came home for 3 days. Her breathing wasn't great, so she went to hospital. Her condition deteriorated. Both her lungs had collapsed. She was on a ventilator. Jazz and I had been through times when we thought she may pass away, and we had planned our wishes out in a fashion. Now it was happening. Yet she seemed bright and responsive. The doctors said she would pass away when we turned off the breathing apparatus. The family were able to say their goodbyes in a calm and loving way. Then it was just the two of us. I asked Jasmine to pick a movie, Lion King or Beauty and the Beast. She blinked yes for Beauty and the Beast, and we watched it together. I asked her if her chest was hurting. She blinked yes. Then I asked her if we should get this show on the road, and she blinked yes. I removed the equipment. Her breaths came further apart until they were no more. I told her how much she was loved and how desperately I would miss her. I told her not to be scared, as I would see her again soon. She had control, which at the end of life is the most important thing. We always knew Jasmine was only ever on loan to us. We have the most beautiful memories of her enjoying her life.
She was feisty, she was funny. As I said, you know, that if I'd be going around saying good morning to people and I was taking too long, she would grump at me. There would be which I loved, because it was, you know, that she was a young woman at college. It was, she found her, you know, her autonomy, her ownership of her voice. And I think that's what she's taught me, that whatever student, whatever person comes into my lesson, I will always stop and listen, because it might not be a voice, it might be an exhale, it might be a blink of an eye, but that's communication.